Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at this knife. It's a Mora. But before we get into that, at the end of every month, or sorry, I should say better, at the start of every month, I do a giveaway to my Patreon supporters from the previous month because their payments, their donations, I should say, to Canadian Cutting Edge get processed on the first couple of days of the month. What I do is I give one of those knives, or sometimes flashlights, and I give a wide range of the choices that I reviewed that month to the winner. They get to pick which item they want, and I send it off to them as a thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support this channel, there's a link down below for Patreon, or simply go to patreon.com/CCE for Canadian Cutting Edge. If you want to see which knives the winner gets to choose from, hang on, I'll show you that on the tabletop just after we switch over to that. I just had to bend over to pick this up. Here's the knife that we're going to look at today. This is the Mora ROOKIE. It's a knife designed to be a child's first knife. Or it simply could be a safety knife for somebody. Maybe you've got some, a shaking disease or something, and you're at the early stages. I'm not a medical professional, nor am I trained in the kinds of things that a person with medical issues can use as tools. Just off the top of my head, I was thinking, somebody with early Parkinson's might want something like this. It's a protection device. You can't stab yourself. It's dull on the tip. It's got a really nice cutting edge, and it's got a finger guard, and it's fairly small. So it's originally designed, it's called the ROOKIE, so it's designed for being a child's first knife for them to learn how to cut with. And most specifically, it's a child's first, bushcraft style knife, a wood whittling kind of thing, because it's got a Scandi grind. But now I'm already getting into the review. Let's get onto the tabletop and take a closer look. So here you go. Here are just a few of the knives that the winner for March gets to choose from. Ganzo's, the Tuya Cebu. That's a nice knife. Or the Savivi Naja. Or the T4 from the import line of Brose Brothers. And there's more, and I've sent the winner a list. The winner was chosen at random using Google number generator, and the number that came up was number 2. And so I went down the list of people who donated in the previous month, and the second one down the list, and the list is not in alphabetical order, and it's not by address. I'm not sure how they organized the list order. It's not by who joined first or anything. It just sort of seems like a random order. The second one on there was Peter B. I'm not giving you the full name because I've tried to contact him, but he hasn't responded yet. And so I don't have permission to use his full name. But Peter B., one of my Patreon supporters, has, won the draw for the end of March. Thank you very much, Peter. And everyone else of you great Patreon supporters, all 32 of you who chose to support me this month, I really appreciate it. It does make a real difference to this channel. Now, let's clean those up and look at this. Now, some of you might remember that last month I reviewed the Mora Basic 511. And this is a stainless steel knife. The 511 comes in either stainless or, I don't remember. My memory is not the very best of specific details of names and things. This knife is called the ROOKIE by Morakniv. We've got a very light, very cheap plastic sheath. It's got the name on there. And I don't know if this design is supposed to be appealing to children or something, but I think it's supposed to represent an old leather sheath design. But yes, it's just plastic. And there's a couple holes at the back that are just punched through. And if you look at it from the side, it still has the plastic just folded over there and hanging on. Now you guys should see that, yeah, it's cheap and it's punched out very cheaply. And this part here, I think, is going to break rather easily. So the sheath is very, very low end. This is the worst Mora sheath ever. And the knife, well, the knife is actually quite nice. We've got a wooden handle. We've got a rat tail tang, and the tang comes right, well, less than a quarter inch from, well, maybe, yeah, it's about a quarter inch from the end. There's the steel tang coming up to about where my thumbnail is now. And then they've got this steel ring that they use to lock it in place on this end. So they hammered that in. So everything's locked in place and there's no freedom of movement. And I've actually used this thing quite hard already to test it, and it's quite good. It's quite good as far as how well it's constructed in terms of being tough and durable and put together well. What they simply do at Mora with their budget knives is they punch them out of steel blanks. And so on the spine of the blade, you can see how it's been punched out. You don't need a sharp spine on a knife like this, especially, for a rookie knife. And, the back of it, you can put your thumb in there if you want to, and it doesn't really bother it at all. The steel is a little bit thin, but it is a small knife. And they punch out this guard here, or front bolster, whatever you want to call it, and slide it in place. It's got a very tiny bit of movement to it, and not much at all. It will get loose if it's banged around, and it's just a punched out shape that they put in between. And then here's the cap on this end of the piece of wood, arguably the front bolster, and then you've got your wood. They don't say exactly what kind of wood this is, but it's it seems like, looks like it's probably an ash to me, maybe. I'm not sure. It's just a cheap wood, and it's got a nice shape to it. It swells up and swells down. It swells up and swells down on the sides. And so, it fits hands very well. My hands are large to extra large, and I still found it fairly comfortable, good to control. And because it's got that oval shape, really good index, that you're pointing down all the time. And the cutting edge, it's done very well. It comes right to the handle. It's about just over 10 degrees of the main Scandi bevel. And there was a micro bevel on the end when I got it, but it was really hard to notice. But I tested this thing so much that now the micro bevel, you can see it when I do this. It's a tiny bit of a bevel right there. You can see it when I move this back and forth. I couldn't tell what the micro bevel was. I did take a picture of it before I resharpened this knife, but I resharpened it at 15 degrees. So the main bevel here was 11 per side, and I sharpened it at 15. So, that's a 30-degree angle inclusive. And this is 12C27 steel. That's what Mora uses for their stainless steel, unless they say otherwise. So that's quite good. The front is blunt. And let's see if you can focus just on that. There you go. You can see how the front is very blunt indeed. I can just, here's a tender part of my hand, right? And, I can just stab, stab, stab. And, I can push in, like if you can see, I'm pushing in. And there's no marks at all on my skin. Well, a little bit, there's a couple pressure marks. Those will come back in just a little while. There's no nicks at all, not the slightest nick on my skin. So it's very safe from any slippage into a stabbing position. And so that's why it's a really good learning knife. It's super sharp, but it's protected at the end. I believe, I'm one of those people who very strongly believes that the best knife to learn with is a very sharp knife. After the child is at an intellectual stage in their development, and that's different ages for different kids. That's up to the parents. You give them a knife and you want them to be able to cut easily, because then they won't have to put in extra force. What a dull knife requires is often extra force, and then there's slippage that happens, and the slippage either goes that way or the slippage goes this way. And regardless of which way the slippage goes, if there's some human flesh on either side of that slippage, somebody's going to get hurt. And so a very sharp knife cuts more easily, it requires less pressure, and actually teaches the individual who's learning how to use a knife, how to use a knife well. So that's why I bought this. I've got grandchildren, but it's not up to me when they get their first knife. It's going to be up to their parents. But I've got a couple knives at the ready when that time comes. This is only good for handheld slicing or cutting something a little higher. It really is most excellent at exactly what they say it's for, wood carving. So it's a really good beginner knife for wood carving. That's a much larger marketplace that they're targeting with this knife. To teach your kids, how to get started in woodworking, bushcraft basics. Not commercial woodworking. I was in that for a while, but no, just carving wood. And I tested this on some pine and on some other softwoods. This is awesome. This cuts very, very well. The dimensions for this thing, I already sort of got into that a bit, but what we've got is a knife that has a cutting edge that is 7 centimeters long, 2.75 inches. The blade length, so tip of the blade to the handle, is 7.16 centimeters, 2.82 inches, so under 3 inches for this blade. The thickness of the blade here is 2 millimeters, that's 0.785 inches. The blade depth, I'm calling this a clip point. It's not a sharp clip, but it's a definite angle here. So before the clip point here, it is 1.7 centimeters, that's 0.67 inches. I usually talk about the thickness behind the grind, but since this is almost a zero grind, well, it's a zero grind with a micro bevel, so it's technically not a zero grind, but so it's a Scandi grind with a micro bevel. That micro bevel, what it was before, I don't know what it was from the factory, but I put it to 15. What I do know is that the main bevel is 11 degrees per side. And now for the handle. The handle length is 9.53 centimeters, which is 3.75 inches. And the handle thickness is 1.9 centimeters, which is 3/4 of an inch. The handle depth is 2.39 centimeters, which is 0.94 of an inch. The grip area is approximately 9 centimeters, approximately 3.5 inches. The total length of this knife is 20 centimeters, 7.87 inches. And like I said, the factory sharpness, maybe I didn't. The factory sharpness, when I tested it, was 155, and that's quite good. After I sharpened it to 15 degrees per side, it was 120. Very, very sharp, cuts very, very well. The weight of this knife is 44 grams, 1.5 ounces. You add in this super sheath, and it is then 52 grams, which is 1.85 ounces. So, how much does it cost? Well, I bought this, it was $19. $19 US, 19 US dollars on Amazon. In Canada, I bought it from Amazon.ca. I forget off the top of my head, and I didn't write it down what the price is. Amazon.ca, the price is on the screen, actually up top. And if I can find other stores that have this, Amazon stores that have this, it'll be up there. I'm sure this is available at a number of places in Europe, and I think it should be a popular knife up there. It should be a popular knife anywhere, but there's not reviews for this thing online. It's largely unknown. I think it's good because it's got a very, very narrow market. People are going to use this for a short time, and then they're going to start getting knives that have tips, because once you've got a tip, you can do all kinds of other jobs that you can't do when it's rounded off. But this is a good beginner trainer for just using a main cutting edge. Features that are good. I like that the rat tail goes basically to the very end. It's not technically a full tang, but it's the very next best thing. It's got a lifetime warranty. That's not really that good for Canadians, because it's going to cost you as much to ship it as it costs to buy a new one. So technically it's good to have a lifetime warranty, but it doesn't really apply a lot of times when you have to pay postage to send it back, depending on where you live. It's a good knife. It's well constructed. It's put together well. It's a good price. 12C27 is a good stainless steel. Mora doesn't tell us what they do the Rockwell hardness to, but 12C27 usually done around 58, 59. What do I dislike about this knife? I think the guard could be just a little bit smaller, because if you're a big adult like me, it still protects more than it needs to. So if it's designed especially for children and things, I think it could be a little bit smaller, and that would give them a little bit more possibility to cut downwards on things. That's about it. For the price range, not bad. I'm going to give it another coat of sealant on the handle, but it's not terrible at all. Oh, by the way, I redid that wooden-handled fixed blade knife that had the extended brass pins. I sanded those down and I put some fresh coats of sealer on that knife. Yeah, it's quite nice. This is a good choice. If you've got somebody that's in that specific market for that particular role, I don't think you should hesitate for this at all. Mora has some other knives that has guards. I think it's 3 other knives. There's at least 2 other knives that have guards. There's a Scout and a couple others. I will list those other knives in photographs right now. So if you want a knife that's got a tip but still has a guard, and maybe I haven't double checked if the steel's thicker on those, but better specs, let me know. If there's any of those other knives that have a guard that have a tip as well that you want me to review, let me know in the comments below. I don't always review everything that gets recommended to me, but I try to review what you guys want to see. And I'm hoping you guys wanted to see this even if you didn't know that it existed before today. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Congratulations again to my Patreon winner, Peter B. And thank you very much to all you other Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. Remember, everybody, cut towards your chum, not your thumb.